Today, we've reached the second episode of the Sumerian tablet series. If you haven't watched the first episode yet, I recommend watching it first because the entire series is interconnected. If you don't watch this 14 tablet series from beginning to end, you're likely to miss important parts of the events and narratives that continue throughout. In the first episode, the story was relatively easy to understand. However, things start to get more complex in the second episode. I'll do my best to simplify and clarify the complexity for you. I hope you enjoy watching and can fully grasp the profound story told in the Sumerian tablets. Let's recall what happened at the end of the first tablet. A naked fight had occurred between Alalu and Alu. Young Prince Alu won the fight, and Alalu, fearing for his life, fled in a celestial boat. Alalu's course was set for a snow-covered Earth. This snow-white Earth was our planet during its ice age. The reason Alalu chose this destination was a secret known only to him. He was heading towards a forbidden zone, an area no one had crossed before or dared to cross. Alalu's goal wasn't just survival, but also to find a way to return to his kingdom. He knew that if he stayed on Nibiru, he would be killed. So, he embarked on this dangerous journey alone. If he succeeded, his reward would be eternal glory. Let's take a look at Alalu's departure from Nibiru. As he soared in his celestial boat, he glanced back at the Nibiru he left behind. The planet's atmosphere was lit by red light from its volcanoes, but in the center, there was a dark wound and unmistakable gap in Nibiru's atmosphere. As he drifted farther from his planet, Nibiru grew smaller and eventually disappeared from view. Alalu felt a moment of regret and considered turning back, but he pushed his doubts aside and continued his journey. As he ventured into the depths of space, he encountered a series of planets. First was Gaga, known to us as Pluto. Then came Neptune, followed by Uranus, with its captivating blue hue. Next, he was mesmerized by the rings of Saturn, but had to speed up his vessel to escape its gravitational pull. Alalu's next stop was Kishar, or Jupiter as we know it. In Anunnaki legends, Jupiter was believed to have devoured its creators. Alalu was both frightened and awestruck by Jupiter's stormy surface. Once he broke free from its gravitational pull, he pressed on with his journey. Now, a massive obstacle stood in his way. The hammered bracelet, or the asteroid belt as we call it. He had to pass through these wild, rocky obstacles. Mustering his courage, he armed the fire weapons on his ship and ventured into the belt. As the rocks hurled toward his ship like warriors, Alalu fired his weapons, clearing a path and overcoming this deadly barrier. Finally, Earth appeared before him. From the sky, he saw the planet in 3 different colors. Its top and bottom were snow white, while the middle was a blend of blue and brown. Scanning the planet, Alalu discovered that there was abundant gold here. Now, he had to make a crucial decision: either land on the ground and risk his life, or plunge into the seas and face the possibility of drowning. Leaving everything to fate, Alalu landed on Earth. As he entered the atmosphere, his ship nearly caught fire, but at the last moment, he successfully made his landing. Lying unconscious in his ship, he opened his eyes to realize he had achieved a great victory. He had landed on the gold planet. Here, the story pauses, and in the next episode, we will delve into the creation of our solar system. Before we get into this creation story, I want to mention that the planets referred to in the Sumerian tablets are named differently by the Anunnaki. The Sumerians referred to the planets as gods, but remember, we are talking about planets here, not actual gods. Be sure to make this distinction to avoid confusion. By keeping these points in mind, I hope you can better understand the complex yet fascinating story of the Sumerian tablets. Before we begin, let's make a small reminder. The gods mentioned here are actually planets, so don't confuse the gods in the narrative with the creative figures we know. Now, let's dive into the story. In the beginning, the gods of the sky, or the planets, had not yet been named. Below, solid ground had not yet formed. Apsu, or the sun, was the first and only being standing alone in the void. he ruled alone. The primordial waters of the universe mingled with Apsu's winds, starting a cosmic dance. Apsu cast a spell over the waters to bring this chaos under control, sending a deep sleep into the void. During this process, he created Tiamat, the celestial mother, as his companion, who would later become the mother of all planets. The celestial mother was a beautiful and fluid entity. The more Apsu gazed at her, the more he admired her, and grew in love with her. Apsu then created Mummu, or Mercury, as Tiamat's companion. Mummu became Apsu's messenger. Over time, Apsu gifted his beloved Tiamat with a shining eternal gold. This was a jewel Tiamat would carry forever. However, this was not just a gift. While giving the gold, Apsu and Tiamat also created another large planet together. This large planet split into two. The male celestial being was named Lamu Mars, and the female was named Lahamu Venus. After Lamu and Lahamu, Anshar Saturn and Kishar Jupiter emerged. These new planets were larger and more majestic than the firstborn. Anshar and Kishar were considered a celestial pair, and from them, Anu Uranus was born. Anu was the new member of this great family. However, at this time, a threat appeared in the dark corners of the universe. Rogue asteroids and meteors began creating chaos. These massive rocks seemed to wage war against Apsu's children. Some chose to join the orbits of the planets, becoming moons. The largest of these was Kingu, known as the ancestor of the moon. Kingu was the leader of the rogue rock groups, and this chaos started to disturb Tiamat. Tiamat formed an army out of these threatening asteroids and left Apsu and their children. But Kingu's independent movement through the orbits infuriated Apsu. When no one wanted to stand against this chaos, Apsu began seeking a solution. Just at that moment, another planet from a distant galaxy, Nibiru, entered Apsu's solar system. Nibiru was the son of another sun, searching for its own fate as it wandered aimlessly. However, this planet carried a gift, the seeds of all life within it. It had a dazzling brightness and an impressive power. As it entered the solar system, it was first noticed by Antu Neptune. Anta tried to pull Nibiru toward itself, but was not strong enough. Instead, Anta became Nibiru's satellite. This event marked the first step of Nibiru settling into the solar system. When Anu Uranus saw Nibiru, he declared it his son and promised to make it a leader. Anu gave Nibiru for satellites, the north, south, east, and west winds. Anu informed Anshar Saturn of Nibiru's arrival, and thus, all the gods celebrated Nibiru's coming. But Nibiru had a great enemy standing in its way, Tiamat. Tiamat, with her 11 satellites, challenged Nibiru. Among Tiamat's satellites, the largest was Kingu, who had declared himself king, and Tiamat had deemed him worthy of this role. The planets feared Tiamat and waited for Nibiru to save them. Nibiru, upon Anu's suggestion, agreed to wage war against Tiamat. However, the gods placed a condition on Nibiru: if you win this war, we will make you our leader. With the support of the gods, Nibiru set out toward Tiamat. Along the way, it was armed with many winds and fire. It was ready for battle. Nibiru faced Tiamat's army and satellites. The evil winds were hurled upon Tiamat, splitting her body in two. In this great battle, Nibiru used its most powerful weapons and defeated Tiamat. Tiamat's body slowly cooled in the endless void of the universe. Nibiru took Kingu captive, shackled him, and brought Tiamat's shattered satellites along with him. After this victory, Nibiru circled around Apsu to report its success to the gods. The gods welcomed Nibiru with triumph. The universe had regained its order, but the echoes of this battle would shape the fate of the solar system. This story is one of the oldest legends about the arrival of Nibiru and how the solar system was shaped. The Sumerian tablets present us with this fascinating epic about the creation of the universe. Nibiru was the center of an ancient legend. Following its own plan, Nibiru split Tiamat in two from her chest, tearing through her veins. The golden veins that emerged filled Nibiru with awe. It then crushed Tiamat's rear and completely severed her upper half, Calling upon the north winds for assistance, Nibiru commanded them to carry Tiamat's head far away. Kingu followed, accompanying Tiamat's head. Nibiru gazed upon the remaining fragments and pondered what to do. Wishing to leave traces of its legacy, used its mace to break these fragments into smaller pieces, creating the hammered bracelet. This bracelet completed the movement of water in the heavens and fulfilled Nibiru's mission, measuring all dimensions from the place of Apsu to where Gaga Pluto was. Nibiru then returned to Apsu. Upon seeing Nibiru, Apsu thought of Tiamat with regret. Tiamat's wounds were still leaking the waters of life into the dark void of space. Nibiru remembered the seeds of life its creator had given it. When it tore Tiamat apart, it must have transferred these seeds to her. Nibiru turned to Apsu and said, "Heal her with your warming rays, let the shattered piece regain life, let your family have a daughter, and let the waters gather in one place, forming solid ground." Apsu accepted Nibiru's request and said, "Let this solid ground be earth, and let it be known as the sacred book. I will send her light during the day, and Kingu shall be the world's companion at night." Nibiru welcomed these words with joy. It passed among the stars and bestowed permanent stops upon the planets. In doing so, it arranged the orbits of the planets, ensuring they moved in harmony with each other. For itself, it chose the outermost home, the place beyond Pluto. It pleaded with Apsu, "Accept this great orbit." The other gods also called out to Apsu, "Let Nibiru's reign be supreme. He is the son of the sun, that is, your son. Even if he has another creator, accept him." Apsu granted these wishes and gave Nibiru a task: return every 3,600 years and inspect the planets, and may your destiny be eternal. And thus, with the consent of Apsu and the gods, Nibiru took its place in its orbit. The solar system had been shaped by the breaking of Tiamat. The north winds carried Tiamat's head far away and bound it to Kingu. The earth, healed by Apsu's rays, was formed. This story, told in the Sumerian tablets, describes the creation of our solar system and planets. Alalu had fled from Nibiru to Earth to search for gold. He believed the gold was here. Alalu possessed great knowledge about the heavens and the gods' cycles. With the wisdom passed down from his ancestor and Shargal, he descended to Earth. He made a crash landing with his ship. He had landed on a foreign planet, all alone. He donned his eagle helmet and fish suit, stepped out of his ship, and began surveying his surroundings. The land was dark, and the sky was blue and white. There was no sound. He was alone. He had been exiled from Nibiru. He wandered around for a while, tested the water, and returned to his ship. One night, upon waking, he noticed a strong light in the sky. The brightness outside his ship excited him. He tested the air he breathed and realized it was habitable. Alalu sang songs of joy. The brightness was blinding and shielding his eyes. He stepped outside once again. He continued exploring nature and felt the cold of the water. Throwing a stone into the water among the reeds, he noticed there were fish. However, the water was not suitable for drinking. Alalu found fruits in the trees among the greenery. They smelled sweet and tasted wonderful. Then, in the middle of the forest, he discovered a small pond. This time, the water was drinkable. Alalu drank it with joy, bursting into laughter. The air was good, the water was fit for drinking, and there was food. The earth was now a habitable place. But something was missing: gold. When morning came, he quickly dived into the reeds and plunged his device into the water. His heart was racing with excitement. The device, scanning the minerals beneath the waters, indicated that it had found gold. Alalu let out cries of victory. The salvation of Nibiru was in his hands. He rushed back to his ship, located Nibiru through simulations, and sent a message. "I, Alalu, speak to Anu of Nibiru. I have found gold. The fate of Nibiru is in my hands. Hear my terms and listen to me." This was the second part of the epic told in the Sumerian tablets. After his conflict with Anu, Alalu had fled and found the key to Nibiru's salvation here on Earth. Now, the next part of the story would be Anu's response and the events that would unfold. Please subscribe to the channel to show support. With love.